All right. Well, this is very exciting. It's a great honor and privilege to speak to the reigning, defending WWE Intercontinental Champion. You'll see him in action this Sunday, night 2 of WrestleMania 37. He'll be defending his title. He is the one and only Ettore Ewan, aka Big E of New Day fame, and a big-time MMA fan as well. I'm very excited to speak to him today. Big E, I guess I'll refer to you as Big E. Is that okay?
That works for me. I appreciate it. I'm a big fan. I love the show and I listen to it all the time. And like I told you a second ago, I'm still. I have to finish the Volkanovski interview, but I'm enjoying the show. So thanks for having me.
I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. So thank you very much. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, and there's a lot to talk to you about. First, before we get into the MMA stuff, because I do want to pick your brain about that, can you please explain to the audience what a Nigerian drum fight is? You will be competing in a Nigerian drum fight this Sunday against Apollo Crews, a very bitter feud you guys got going on. But What
Yes.
exactly? I've been watching wrestling for a while. I do believe this is the first of its kind.
Look, man, I don't know. I've had a bunch of people reach out to me and ask me what this is, and I'm reaching out to historians. I'm googling, scouring. I guess not the network anymore, but Peacock for. I don't think this. I think it's a new thing, and no one's explained it to me. So I got some work to do. I don't know, man. Maybe I'll learn on the fly while I'm out there.
Okay.
I
So
don't
you've
know.
agreed to a match that you don't even know what it's about?
That's right. Probably not the smartest take. Now that you mention it, but we're gonna do it either way. So it's happening.
All right. So that is this Sunday. For you personally, obviously you've been a part of New Day for a while. You've been with with Kofi and Xavier Woods, and there was a time where Kofi, a couple of years ago here in New York, he's going for the belt, and you're kind of a part of the crew, but you're not in the match. Now having a singles match, you're a champion. I know you're good friends with them. The podcast is great, but to kind of be on your own and have the spotlight on you, how does this make you feel going into Mania?
Yeah, those are my guys, but it's nice to finally get some opportunities on my own too. And the dope part is I'm a Tampanian, born and raised, and getting to have WrestleMania, the same place I played my high school football all-star game there in 2003, is pretty cool. It's home, so I'm excited about the opportunity. And I didn't realize this until someone said it, but it's my very first singles match ever at WrestleMania. I've been with the company since '09, and my first one, so it'll be dope.
Someone had to tell you that? Like there's not a part of you that knows that in the back of your mind?
I should. It's all a blur sometimes. We go from show to show, and my memory's not the best. I don't know.
But this feels like validation, right? This feels like they are behind you. This is the opportunity that I'm assuming when you got into WWE, this is what you wanted, right? You wanted to be on your own, champion, WrestleMania, hometown. Feels like the stars are aligning for you.
Yeah. It feels like I was worried you're being a little divisive. Like this is what you wanted the whole time is kick those other two to the
No,
curb.
no, no,
Yeah.
no.
I just want to make sure because I know you have a tendency to sometimes just drive
Wow,
that
it's like
wedge
that, huh?
just a
Okay.
little bit. But no, it's as excited and proud as I am of all of our accomplishments as a trio with the New Day. It is fulfilling to have some opportunities on my own to go out there on my own merits and show like, hey, this is my opportunity. So I'm excited about that.
How difficult has the past year been for you as a performer to be competing initially in front of no one and now in front of the screens? And now all of a sudden at Mania, like the first time back in front of fans is at Mania. How difficult has it been? Because you're someone who has so much energy. It feels like you feed off the crowd's energy as well. What's it been like?
It's an adjustment for sure. Like you're a wrestling fan, so you get like the crux of what we do is moving a crowd. It's being able to get them to cheer or to boo. That's the beauty of professional wrestling. That's what we do. So to have that element removed is very it's different. And the interesting part too is that we have guys who you might refer to as gimmicks. So there are guys who get over because they have great crowd reactions, but when you strip that away you kind of, I don't want to say expose them, but there's an element of that. And I want to make sure, as much as I enjoy elements of being a gimmick, of being entertaining and being obnoxious, is if you take that crowd away and you just look at my in-ring work, you look at my ability, I want to make sure I still can go because a lot of guys they do get exposed, honestly. And that's, I always felt like I was good enough in the ring to not have that happen. But I'm excited about having fans back. We're not at full capacity, but we're trying to do it in a way that's still safe. And that's the goal right now. It's hard to fathom. It's been over a year without any fans whatsoever. but I'm excited to get back to it, especially doing it in my backyard.
I have a great appreciation for what you and the entire roster does. Anyone who competes in your field, who do you think has performed the best in the pandemic? Who has been able to adapt best to this situation?
I'd say I think Roman really stepped it up. I think when you see the new like head of the table, the new character, and seeing like Roman, he's really killed it. But then I also think of people who've been like pandemic era MVPs. And I think Asuka doesn't get enough credit for holding it down. She would just be weird and charismatic at commentary and do stuff in the ring as well. I think Bayley has had a great run as well this last year or so. But yeah, there have been a few people, even Sammy, who was my nemesis for a bit. His paranoid conspiracy theory stuff is really entertaining. And I did not expect a run with Logan Paul, but yet here we are. So I'm intrigued.
Greatest intercontinental match in WrestleMania history. What comes to mind?
Oh, you put me on the spot. When I think of greatest IC title match, I was thinking Razor and Shawn, the ladder match is what I was gonna go with. Greatest at WrestleMania. You put me on the spot there. I gotta. Okay. Let's come back to. Let's table that.
Sorry. Hey, was Steamboat Savage for the IC belt? WrestleMania 3?
I think it was.
I mean, that's one of the greatest matches of all time, period, right?
Right. Again, put me on the spot. Make me look
did I just outsmart the champion right now?
Look, I fall down for a living. My head,
right.
My brain's been rattled a lot. So yeah, it's not my fault.
I just want to know if this is something that you think about. That's a belt with a tremendous history and lineage. When you think about being the IC champion going into WrestleMania, there are a lot of legends who held that belt at WrestleMania. Do you maybe go back and look at some of those matches? Do you say, I want to try to top this? What is the mindset going into the match?
Yeah, no, of course. I think there's definitely, historically this title, the IC title, has been like, hey, you're the next guy up. You're going to be the next world champion. And I think there have been times where we've kind of moved away from that progression. And that's what I hope too, is that the man that holds that title is considered the next one to be world champion. So like you said, it's an impressive lineage and a legacy. And I just hope to be worthy of that. So that's my goal. And to kind of be in that same pantheon of great intercontinental champions is dope. So that's what I hope to be.
Could I ask, and honestly, I'm not trying to get you in trouble here, but which belt do you like the best? The original or the current one that you have?
You are trying to get me in trouble.
No, I feel like we got off on the wrong foot here, Big E. I feel like
the one we brought back the one with the white strap when I had it the first time in 2013, and I like that one. And I'll stop at that.
Okay, fair enough. Could I ask? I know you're a big MMA fan, and I want to ask you some questions about that. And maybe I'm crazy and looking into this too much. A couple weeks ago, I'm watching the program, I believe it was SmackDown, and you and Apollo did the split screen interview, right? And it got a little hectic on the back end. And I couldn't help but think, and let me know if I'm wrong, it was very reminiscent of Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier, the famous split screen. Did you have anything to do with that? Did you draw anything from that? Because when I watched it, I was like, I remember this from a few years ago.
Yeah. So maybe subconsciously, I don't think we went into saying like, hey, let's reproduce that. But as watching so much MMA and just consuming all of it, I'm sure there are elements of it that seeped into my brain. So I can see it. Yeah. Who's
your favorite fighter?
Man, that's difficult. Even though he's coming off a loss, probably Izzy.
Okay.
I just think he's a consummate entertainer. I hate the limitation of entrances. Let him do all this. And I know you've talked about this before, but let him do like a full WrestleMania style entrance whenever he wants to. Give him 10 minutes and like a budget. Cause I think it's super entertaining. And he's incredibly charismatic. He's great in the cage too. Just the level of sophistication of his striking, I think it is just profoundly interesting to watch. And I kind of I think there's something to him coming off of a loss that I kind of like. He dreamed big, he fell short. Now he's coming back to 185, and so I'm intrigued. Yeah, I think there are a ton of people. Amanda Nunes is the greatest women's fighter, clearly, of all time as well. So she's a joy to watch. But if forced to pick one, I'll go with Izzy.
as someone who is as eccentric and energetic, and you have such an amazing personality, colorful with your outfits and whatnot, when you see the uniforms and the stripped down entrances and stuff, like, and you get it, right? Does it hurt you? It hurts me inside, I must say. I would imagine it hurts you as well, just knowing you on television.
I miss the sponsors. The sponsors. And so we haven't seen, when does the Venom stuff come out?
This Saturday, actually, on the ABC card.
And we haven't had like a sneak peek. We have no idea what it looks
like.
They
just Tuesday morning, they just dropped some photos. Looks very reminiscent to the Reebok stuff. Not that much different.
And how do you feel about that?
I'm not a fan. I've said it. To me, fighting is all about an expression of personality, right? Like, I grew up Mike Tyson, all black. Oh my gosh. Iceman, right, with the ice shorts. Tito Ortiz with the fire. Like, I GSP coming out with the gi and the headband. Like, that's, to me, that's what I love about fight. And honestly, what drew me to pro wrestling as well. Bret Hart was my favorite wrestler with the glasses and the pink and black. I don't think that fighters should be uniform. I feel like fighters should be themselves. Look at how Izzy, sorry for going on a rant here, but like, Izzy comes out with a little mini walkout at 243 against Whitaker, and just like a little dance, and we all collectively lose our minds. Imagine if they truly let him be him. I think he would be an even bigger star.
I agree. And I feel like it was like a year of clamoring for Bryce Mitchell just to get the camo shorts. And like that's as eccentric as we go with fight kits now. So yeah, man, I'm with you. I'd love to see more personality. And I think it could still be sponsored by Venom, but just allow guys to be more colorful.
Imagine Jorge Masvidal walks out in like a Scarface suit or a Razor Ramon outfit, like being himself. That's who he is. He's not a uniform guy, right? He's a guy from Miami who's a little bit different. So that stuff is, I don't know, it kind of grinds my gears. And some people say I harp too much on it, but I feel like that's what makes fighting and wrestling and combat sports fun. It's seeing the personalities come out, and you're a perfect example of that. When did you get into MMA? Like, who got you into it?
So I remember like a bunch of us in college, kind of like some of the earlier UFCs, and when The Ultimate Fighter really took off is like when we got really hooked on it. And for some reason, I think I just kind of like my MMA viewership waned a little bit after college. But as stupid as it sounds, the video game got me back in. So as soon as UFC 2 dropped, we were playing backstage and we were all hooked. We would play at every show. Yeah, we were playing at every live event. We would have like a group of maybe like 10 to 12 of us. And I was just completely hooked. And I started getting back in. And I was watching all the fight nights, watching pay-per-views. The only reason I have ESPN Plus right now is because of the fight nights. So like as soon as UFC 2 dropped, I was back in. So this is probably like 5-6 years ago. I can't remember. And I play UFC 4 like 5 days a week. It's out of hand, honestly.
Who's the best at that game?
I am out of the locker room right now.
Okay.
Jey Uso is pretty good too. Jack Gallagher was pretty good when he was around as well.
And do you have a go-to guy that you play with?
I try to mix it up, but I really like Gokhan Saki. For some reason, he has like this like
he's in the game.
He's in the game still. Yeah.
The legend.
He's in UFC 4.
Wow,
yeah.
I didn't know. It shows how much I know about video games. I didn't know they had legends in it.
Is he considered a legend?
Gokhan Saki?
Yeah.
He's a legend.
Okay. I mean, but he fought as of like a couple years ago in the
UFC. But he hasn't fought. I mean, to me, he's a kickboxing legend, but he hasn't fought that long in the. I don't even know if he's on the roster still. So I'm a little bit surprised.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he is either. But yeah, he's got a sweet, like, he just throws his uppercuts real fast, and that's kind of my guy. But yeah, and also Megan Anderson, because he's real long at 145.
Wow. DC is the he's like the ratings adjuster. I don't know.
I know. I'm well aware.
Yes.
Yeah.
He likes to puff his chest out about all that. I don't know how good is he good at it? Like, do you think he's on point, or is it a little fugazi?
No, I think he's on point. I think everyone who has 5 stars deserves him. So I got no problem with his rankings.
You are I know you're not the heavyweight champ, but I would, you would compete as a heavyweight if you were in the UFC, right? Mm-hmm. How much do you weigh, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm currently actually like right at 265.
Wow. Okay. Could I ask, since you're such a fan and I love talking about this stuff with pro wrestlers, how do you feel about the whole John Jones, Francis Ngannou drama that's going on right now?
I'm excited for the fight. I say pay the man his ducats, pay the man his cheddar, his Gouda, because he deserves it. And of course, there's a lot of weirdness in MMA with purses and what's actually disclosed and the behind closed doors Dana extra bonus. But I think from what I understand is that fighter pay is still around 20% from the lawsuits and all that. You get actually what's disclosed, which to me is very, very low for what these guys. And you think of a guy of John Jones' ability in boxing, he would be making tens of millions, if not $100 million for a big fight. And the fact that doesn't exist, I feel for those guys in the UFC because they're not really. John Jones, he's making good money. Don't get me wrong, but for his abilities and for what he's done in the sport, you could argue he should be making 3 to 4 times as much.
Who do you think wins that fight?
Man, Francis. If Francis can stop takedowns and take backs, it's over, man. It's over. I listened to like an Eric Nixick interview as well, and I love like just the work they did with him and his approach now, and just seeing how measured Francis is, but still extremely powerful. If this man can sprawl and like, it's over. So yeah. I could be wrong here, but I like Francis, man, and it's such a great story.
This is so wild. Like, I knew you were a fan. I didn't know you were a fan to the point where you're listening to Eric Nixick interviews. Like, you are a hardcore fan.
I love it. Wow. Yeah. I listened to like 4 different MMA podcasts, and this is just what I do with my free time.
Would you say MMA is your favorite sport outside of pro wrestling?
I would say so. I also love college football. So I'm taking a break to college football is like my first love, but it's college football is 1A, and right behind it is MMA. So once college football season is over, this is it. I also love boxing as well. So I spend a lot of time watching boxing. And my buddy Andreas Hale covers boxing and combat sports as well. So we always talk about that.
Well, since you mentioned him, I was going to ask you about your Kickstarter. You're wearing the shirt, Our Heroes Rock. I think this is amazing what you guys are doing. And the animation is great. The story behind it, what you're trying to accomplish is great. So if you don't mind letting the people know about it, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a ton. So it's ourheroesrock.org is the link, and that takes you directly to our Kickstarter. We have a few days left. We're getting near the last day of WrestleMania Sunday is when things close. But essentially, we're telling the story of Ruby Bridges, who in 1960, she was a 6-year-old Black girl, and she's integrating an all-white school in New Orleans. And she actually needs U.S. Marshals to escort her to school because there are people hurling things at her and yelling awful things at her. And we want to tell the story because I think it's such an impactful story. She's younger than my mom. She's still alive. She's still around. This wasn't 100 years ago. These are still problems that we need to work on today. And I think oftentimes when these stories are presented in a heavy and pedantic way, it's hard to engage in, but that's why we're using animation, 3D animation. We're using science fiction. I love hip hop. And I think in many ways, hip hop is the voice of our culture. So we have Rhapsody, who to me is one of the best MCs on the planet. She's a 2-time Grammy nominee. We have Eric, the Architect, who's our music producer. He's in Flatbush Zombies. He's incredible. So we just really want to use this short animated film to tell this story, this really impactful story. And in many ways, this is kind of for us, it's the spiritual successor of Schoolhouse Rock. So you walk away, and I think of kind of the old metaphor. When I was a kid, my mom would take the applesauce, and if I had vitamins or pills I needed to consume, she'd crush them up and put in the applesauce. And that's what we want this to be: is you consume this applesauce, and it's entertaining and it's fun, but you're getting the nutrients, you're getting this information about this really important figure, and you're walking away with a really beautiful message. And we want to continue to tell these stories, and we want to tell them in a fun way. But it's ourheroesrock.org. And we're in our last few days, but I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Oh man, the way you tell that, I want you to talk for 20 more minutes just about this, because I could see the passion that you have for this. Where did the idea come from to start something like this?
So honestly, for me, man, it was after the death of George Floyd, after his murder. I remember being so incredibly sad. I had never had the death of someone who I had never met, had never known, impact me so much. And I think a lot of it was the pandemic as well. I had all this time where I was just sitting at home, and it wasn't, typically we're on the road so much that a news story hits and it's, man, that's awful, but I got to wake up in 2 hours to catch a flight, or I'm driving 300 miles to the next town. But now I'm just sitting here and I'm having these conversations with my family members, with my Black friends, with non-Black people too, reaching out. And I kept thinking, man, like, how do I dismantle this system of systemic racism? How can I solve these massive problems? And it kind of left me with this feeling of hopelessness. But I kept thinking, you know what? I might not be able to change the world dramatically, but I can do something. And I want to use my voice and my platform. And I think education is a huge part of us moving forward as a country and as a society and as a culture. And there are so many of these stories that we didn't learn. You know, I talked to Andreas Hale and Jonathan Davenport. It's the three of us, and this is as much their film and their project as it is mine. And we talk about, you know, we're in our 30s and 40s, and we talk about how we didn't learn a lot of these things until college, until later in life, because they're simply just not taught. And there's so many stories when you look at Ida B. Wells, James Baldwin, just so many important Black figures who we don't speak about enough. And I think if you tell these stories in a fun and engaging way, I think that really gets kids and adults involved as well. And that's what we want it. We want it to be fun. We want it to be educational, and we want you to walk away having learned something.
Well done. So again, ourheroesrock.org is where people can find out more about this. Just a couple more questions, if you don't mind. You mentioned you're a big boxing guy. You mentioned Logan Paul. So could I ask, who do you think wins, Jake Paul or Ben Askren on April 17th?
Man, maybe I'm a bit too much of a purist. I like the Triller stuff is just, it's not my cup of tea.
Really?
But it's not, man. I will say though, Ben Askren is fun. Just the way he talks up fights, their nonsense with the face off. You know what? I think I might be leaning towards Ben.
Really? Wow.
He's not a great striker, but I remember, I forgot who said it, but I remember some mention that actually can kind of use his wrestling, working in the clinch. I think he's crafty enough to find ways to win that fight. But I'm definitely not going to pay for it. I'll tell you that right now. I like seeing the best boxers in the world fight the best boxers in the world. I don't want to see YouTubers and whatnot. But like no one cares what I think. It's going to do well.
I care.
It's going to do numbers. Thank you. That's very kind of you. It's going to do numbers. So that's what matters.
I'm surprised as a wrestling guy. Like, to me, this is the evolution of Andy Kaufman versus Jerry Lawler. Like, this is a guy who doesn't deserve to be there in some people's eyes. How dare he, you know, try to challenge the sanctity of boxing, and he's going up against an MMA fighter in a boxing match who can't strike. Like, isn't this pro wrestling in many respects? I
want that in my pro wrestling, sure. But that's like, you know, stick your chocolate in my peanut butter, but don't put it in my salad. That's what you're doing right now. Is I just want a salad right now. And that's what they're doing. So I can respect what they're doing. I get it. It's just not my cup of tea, but hats off to them.
Personality wise, who in MMA, who in the UFC do you think would be great in the world of WWE?
Well, I know your boy DC's been, I know y'all have been lobbying to do something.
Yeah.
We got to cash in at one point. Actually, I met him briefly at the Staples Center years ago when he was at a show. I'm trying to think of who else. I feel like Israel is an easy choice as far as a crossover, just a big personality. I'm trying to think of someone else who would work well. It's a very good question.
I'll throw this name out to you. You tell me yay or nay. Colby Covington.
Well, that's another can of worms that I don't necessarily want to get into. His views don't align with my views.
Just as a guy who can play character, do you think, or too much?
It's a bit too incendiary.
Okay.
You know, I think that might have worked well in a different era. I feel like it would cause probably more problems than it's worth right now. But Big
Francis, maybe not with the mic skills, but with the look and the power, right?
I like that. Maybe he could be a Heyman guy. Huh?
Exactly. That would be great.
Right. I'm into that.
You think DC? Come on, like Roman called him out last week. DC would wipe the floor with Roman Reigns, right? I mean, like, it wouldn't even be close.
Well, what are we talking about? What kind of match are we talking about? That's the question.
Really? Why? You don't think any? I say no DQ. I say strap match. I say Nigerian drum fight. Pick a match. DC is whooping. I mean, we're talking about a two-time Olympian. We're talking about a collegiate wrestling legend, a double champ. I mean, you don't really think. I mean, that guy throws a Superman punch like my 8-year-old son. I mean, come on.
How dare you? How dare you? First of all, DC, does he have any experience in a no DQ match? None that I'm aware of.
I mean, he fought in the UFC. Isn't that kind of the same thing?
No, not the same. Not has he? I've never seen him with a chair in his hand. I don't know. I don't know how he swings a chair. You know, I got to see that first.
He just sits on him these days.
Yes. I'm intrigued. I'd love to see it. I know you guys also called out Booker, and
I mean, that would not be fair. No commission would sanction something like that. Like an athlete against a non-athlete like him, like only if it was like under geriatric rules, right? Come on now,
Yeah,
baby.
first of all, Booker's in great shape. I know he's a little long in the
He looks
tooth.
good with the Fisher Price weights.
All right, we need to make this happen. We need to make this happen. So just for my own entertainment, no one else may care, but I'm into it. So let's yeah.
Well, I appreciate that you watch and listen, and I'm a big fan as well. One of the first events that I ever took my kids to was the SmackDown after WrestleMania here in New York, or New Jersey to be precise. And you guys came after Kofi won, and they were blown away that you were throwing out pancakes to the crowd. And so can we end on this just for their enjoyment? Who came up with the pancake thing? Was it you guys? Was it someone else? Because that was a lot of fun while it lasted, especially what you would do to the pancake sometimes.
So this is very stupid, but so we had a lumberjack match. It was me and Kofi were in the match against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This is probably like 2017. But anyways, Woods decides because he's a part of the group, but not in the match, he's going to be the chief lumberjack. So he comes out in flannel and a toque, I think as Canadians would call it. Yes, a beanie. And I came up with the idea of, okay, you're as the chief lumberjack, for some reason, pancakes are associated with lumberjacks. So we came out with like a plate of pancakes, and it was supposed to be a one-time thing, and we move on. But because we're idiots and we find things like that funny, we decided, hey, let's just keep throwing out pancakes. And for some reason, I wanted to stop doing pancakes probably like 6 months in, but people kept clamoring for them, and they wouldn't shut up on live events for the pancakes. And I also would not suggest people ever eat these pancakes because I don't wear undertrunks. So when I wear my singlet, it's just what God gave me. It's just my body, and I stuff them in there. So if you got a pancake with little short curly hairs on it, you know exactly where that came from. So there are some people who would put them in their freezer, and if we sign them for you, it's a keepsake. Don't put it in your mouth. So yes, that's why years later we kept throwing out the pancakes. But for some reason, I just took a lot of pleasure out of pulling them out of my loins and tossing them at children.
Why no underwear? Why wouldn't you wear underwear?
I want to be streamlined. I want to be streamlined. I just want to be just me and the singlet. That's all we need.
Okay, I lied. One more. Have you ever used the GIF of you eating the popcorn? Have you ever? I mean, it's a legendary GIF. Have you ever used it yourself?
I think I have. I tend to find sending gifts of myself to be it's a little corny,
yes. But I'm just wondering if you ever felt the need, one perfect opportunity.
I'm sure I have before. I will say it is one of my proudest achievements. There was a post a few years ago. A woman, she was verified, and she said something like, "This is literally me," and I thought it was funny to say, "This is literally me," because that's not actually literally you, but it is literally me. But that's the extent of it. Beyond that, I try to avoid sending gifts to myself. That's weird.
Well, this was a lot of fun. Hope to do it again. I wish you the best. This Sunday, WrestleMania 37, 2 nights. 2 nights. Yes. Last year was 2 nights. This year it's 2 nights, but it's 2 nights live at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. Night 2 on Peacock Network. The one and only Big E defending his Intercontinental Championship against Apollo Crews in a Nigerian drum fight. I look forward to this very much, and good luck with the Kickstarter, my man. And again, thank you for consuming our content as well. It's an honor. I appreciate it. And congratulations on all your success thus far.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.